Good evening, y'all. Welcome to the Spiritual Speakeasy, where the bar is always open and all spirits are served. Tonight's special guest, I'm so excited. Her name is Cindy Goodbrake. She is a seasoned Bigfoot. If I can talk, it's even better. Bigfoot researcher, paranormal investigator. She has gone deep into Bigfoot, Dogman, Skinwalkers, everything associated with the cryptid phenomena.
Mm-hmm.
And she has done this for a long time, 1998, probably even longer, probably in other lifetimes. We're going to find out. Originally from East Texas, she's been all over the place, and she's going to tell us all about this and what she's found out about Sasquatches and things like that. Welcome, Cindy.
Hey, thank you. My screen froze up for a minute.
You're good. You're on. Whoop. Froze again. Are you back? Are you back? Whoop.
Tell me.
They do not want you talking. There she. There we go. We almost got you. Yeah, there she is. And she's from Sasquatch Sisters. So tell us.
Okay,
You're on. You're good.
Okay. So I'm sorry, what was the question?
Just tell us more about yourself. I kind of went through your bio shortly, but what do you want people to know about you, and what have you found and all the exciting stuff?
So, this has been it started off as a what I would say a hobby, because it sparked my interest. But what I have come to discover is that it has been predestined, like as part of my earthly plane life, to go through this journey because of some things that have fallen into place the way they have and the answers I've gotten. So I am Cindy Goodbrake. I created Sasquatch Sisters Northwest. It's a team, but I don't have a team because instead of having like a boots on the ground team, I have a network of people that I work with. And I was going to change my name, but I thought, nah, I'm not going to do that because people already know me. So really, Sasquatch Sisters is me, you, the people I work with, the people that I refer, the other top people, researchers, knowers, seers, those are like my whole network. So when I say that this was predestined for me, I come from a long line of, like, my great-grandmother was a indigenous great healer woman from Mexico. And she came here with my grandfather and his brother to Texas at the turn of the century, like 1909 or something like that. And then they made a life for themselves here in Texas. And then my father was born, and then I was born, and I was raised here. So, but I was not raised with that knowledge. What I was raised with was, I remember her as a little girl. We would go to cross over the border right there. And I remember she would buy like salves, she would buy herbs, and she would do like rituals on me. I say rituals. My mother doesn't like that word because, how some people think they think witchcraft. Oh my gosh, crystals. I was raised like all that is bad, but it's not. It's actually part of what you have been lied to about. That's another part of what I'm going to go into. So, when I was little, I don't know, I saw this film. It's called the Patterson-Gimlin film, or I know I'm butchering this name. The film where the female, they name Patty, is crossing a creek, and she's obviously a female. A lot of people know that film I'm talking about. Am I still here?
Yep, you're here. I was waving at Roy.
Okay, great. So I saw that film, and I never forgot about it. So later in life, when I moved to East Texas, or to Dallas, I married my husband. We moved out to the country here in East Texas. I live close to, like, by Quinlan, Texas, right by Lake Tawakoni. So I'm here at the, like, right down the road. Like, it's all woods around me. The back of my property is not my property, but it starts a whole, like, a green belt of, like, woods, and it keeps going on and on. So in 1993, I married my husband, and I had my older son in 1995. And in 1997, so this is the beginning of how things started falling into place for me. I started, the guy who shoot at horses said, you guys need to go to this place in Oklahoma because we take our horses there. And he said it's Talihina, Honobia, southeast Oklahoma, the bottom of the Ouachita Mountains, the Kiamichi. I just call it Kiamichi. So we kept hearing about this place, and finally my husband said, I think I've got family there. And so we went up. I went up to go meet his aunt, and he hadn't seen his aunt in, like, forever. So we went up to Talihina, Oklahoma, and we spent some time with, the family, but we also camped out. And we went to Honobia to camp out. We did not have our horses. We were just camping up in the mountains by the creek, or the, whatever it was, the river. And we're sitting around this campfire. I'm not researching yet. We're just sitting around this campfire, and we're like, how did we not know about this place? It's beautiful. It's remote. And out of nowhere, I hear what I call the siren sound. It is a very specific sound. That's just what I call it. Some other people call it different names. But if you have ever heard, it sounds like an ambulance and a woman screaming, like, whoa, and I was like, what is that? And my husband, who was like, well, I can't be an ambulance because, we're up in the mountains. And so we kind of just like, who knows? Maybe it was something else we just misidentified. And then we went to sleep. And then that next morning, when we were packing up, we were kind of hanging out that day, having a good time, hanging out in the creek, and just kind of like driving around and exploring the area. I felt watched. Like, I will never forget that trip. And so then we came back, and we started taking our horses over there, and we started taking trips over there, like, in the cooler months, not really in summertime, because it's real, as you know, it gets very hot and very unpleasant. So in 1998, 1999, I went on the internet and I typed in Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and I couldn't believe what I found. I found that here in East Texas, I had no idea how massive East Texas is, and all the national forests that are here.
Huge.
Huge. Yes. The Big Thicket is different.
Sightings. Huge.
Yes. There's the San Angelina National Forest. There's I know I'm saving it wrong, the Davy something Crockett. I've only been there a couple of times. And then there's the other, the Sam Houston. There's the Big Thicket areas. There's different units. So I just started, I started out here in East Texas, and I met the first people that influenced my life. I don't always drop names, but I've been more in contact with some of these people. In fact, you might want to have him on your podcast. I don't know. I would have to ask him. But at that time, there was a group, and this person who contacted me, and he came over to my house here, and met me and my husband, because we're talking, I'm going out into the woods with strangers, right? So Luke Gross is a local that lives here in Northeast Texas, and he has an incredible background, and he's full of knowledge and his experiences and what he knows and studies that he's been doing. So he is like my first mentor on this journey. So I learned a lot from him, like a lot from him. Then I hooked up with other people, and for like 5 years between Southeast Oklahoma and East Texas here, I pretty much have heard every sound that there is. I've heard roars. I've heard the siren calls. The sing song where they're just doing their thing out in the woods. I've heard them when they're hunting with coyotes, without coyotes. That's just a theory. I could be wrong. I don't know. People have different theories on them, like if coyotes hang out with them, or if they hunt with coyotes, or don't. You know, whatever. I know I've heard them together here in East Texas and up in Idaho. I've had a lot of things happen here, but never once did I ever think that they were anything but flesh and blood. I knew they weren't some ape out in the woods. I knew that. I just knew that instinctively. But I did not think that they were anything spiritual, anything paranormal, anything an ancient race. I didn't know what they were, but I knew they were their own species, and I knew that they were. Or my belief was that they were only flesh and blood. I didn't even have an instinct or a clue that there could be anything more to this. So, I've had some amazing things happen to me here in the woods, and some scary things happen to me. One of the things that we believe that Sasquatch can do is emanate infrasound. You know, elephants do it. If you want to get scientific about it, if you want to call them animals, which I can't, but if a person wants to look at it scientifically, may or may not believe in the infrasound part of it, where they can emanate a frequency on different levels. And because I have experienced being frozen where I couldn't move, I have been gently hit up with infrasound to where it makes you like really, really sick, or maybe like a little sick. So I've been hit up on different levels of the infrasound. Now, elephants use infrasound. I believe tigers do. So if you want to get scientific about it, okay, let's say, well, if they do it, so why can't a Sasquatch? Because right, you know. Now, even some people that do believe that they are only flesh and blood and not anything on any other, like what I have come to believe because of my personal journey, is that they don't believe that they can do infrasound. Not everybody has experienced that. One of the people that I actually learned a lot from, another mentor of mine, was a NASA scientist, rocket scientist. And he would explain to us, like, in all the hard, confusing terms of frequencies, and he would explain how it can make you sick and how it can affect everyone differently.
Well, sure. So, I mean, you're getting into your ultrasonic sounds. You're getting into the dolphin sounds. You're getting into so many different frequencies that animals do. But you're also getting into the interdimensional or intradimensional beings, extraterrestrials, interterrestrials, those kind of, and elementals.
Thank you. Some people
there. Hey, there you go. There's your segue.
Well, you say elementals and like, little people and, like that's not really my thing that I know a lot, but I know that they are there. So I can't say like, oh, I know like the elementals. Well, now I do because I've experienced it. I think I've experienced the little people here and there, but anyway, like I said,
people, there can be big things too. Like we limit ourselves because we read textbooks and we're told in textbooks that this is the way it is.
What your limitations are, but not what the truth is.
That's true.
What we as humans really have, the whole reason we're here and the whole reason of you have instincts, you have, it's not anything special. I'm not any more special than you. The only question is, what do you believe in? Like, what have you awakened yet? Like, embrace it. And I hate to say embrace your gifts because everybody, I think, either you're open to it or you're not. And if you are open to it, then you can ascend higher with your learning. Am I correct?
Yeah, well, I believe very much as you do. I believe we have to be in touch with our subconscious. It remembers, but we have a block. Something, someone, some source, some chemical, something sedates us down and does not want us to be aware, because awareness was what was given to us from the divine. If we don't figure out a where, we're going to keep doing this bitch over and over and over again until we get it right. And so if we awaken that, then all of a sudden, all of this knowledge comes to us. We have that past knowledge. We have our past lives. We have, and then you remember perfectly clear. And the trick is to use that and build and get those doors open so you don't have to do it again. This knowledge has always been there from the beginning for us. We just haven't accessed this. And I think personally, I think through the fluorine in the water, the chlorine in the water, the different things that they put in there, it sedates our memory. We can't remember things. Sugar sedates us. It keeps us from remembering things. They don't want us. They don't want us. They, meaning whoever, go down that hole, however you want to go down that hole.
Oh, I have. Trust me.
That whole big, hi, Damien. I got people popping in. Roy, hi, Sal. So yeah, we can go any place with that. You know, I mean,
so let me explain a day of what research is in my world at that time, and it still is to this day. We would go to certain areas and we would frequent these areas over and over. We knew these areas like the back of our hand. We would do different studies. We would do day escapades, and then we would come back at night. And then we would come back at night, and then we would just be, we would listen, and then we would the next day see, we would record audios. We would use equipment like night vision and things like that. So, but again, all of us were pretty much of the mentality of, flesh and blood. I didn't even entertain. In fact, I used to make fun of people, which I'm eating crow today, of some of the greats, some of the people that I think are amazing today, like Arla Williams, and like Tobe Johnson. And if y'all have not watched A Flash of Beauty on YouTube, there's 2 different films. It's free. You can go watch. Just type in A Flash of Beauty, and that pretty much sums up a lot of things. So here I am in East Texas. I've gained a lot of knowledge. I've learned a lot. I've got the bottom of my platform set on this amazing journey that I thought I was going to quit, but I didn't. One night at this area in East Texas, there was the typical people that I researched with for like 4 years, and we became like family, and we respected each other. Sometimes we would like have different ideas and things like that. But on this one night, we went to this one area, and something happened to me, something happened to other people, but it changed my future of what I was going to quit researching. We went to this one area, and there was a group of people that came with this MUFON.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know who invited them. I don't remember. I know some people. I need to write it down. I have wrote it down. It's somewhere. But that night, there was a lot of people, and that was not a good thing, because what happened is we arrived and we were hanging out all night long. Well, not all night long, but we were at this one area that we had been to many times, and I was standing in the woods listening, like after doing our daytime research, going back at night, comparing notes, looking at topo maps. I learned from these guys how to read topo maps, and I learned a lot. So my best friend at the time, her name was Kelly. She was out of like Dallas, the Dallas Mesquite area. She was my best friend at the time. So we are hanging out in the woods. I'm standing right here. She's standing, I don't know, not very far away from me. I don't know how many feet or whatever. She just was not very far away. We had a lot of activity that night. There's a lot I don't remember. I don't know if that is for a reason, but all of a sudden I was frozen. Like I could not move. I was frozen. And then Kelly was pretty much locked up, and I remember there was something going on with my eyes. I think I was trying to move my eyes, like I was I couldn't move. I was like really frozen, and it scared me. And then it felt like a long time, but I was released. And I mean, released to where like you fall and then you catch yourself. And then I saw Kelly do the same thing. And I'm like, she said something like, what happened? But we both knew what happened. But then, you know what? It was so busy that night, so crazy, that someone, the people who had the night vision equipment, there was a lot of something coming in. I don't want to say, but it was a whole bunch of Sasquatches coming in. Whoops, I'm so sorry.
You're good. You're good.
We had a lot of people, I mean, a lot of something coming in, and then someone said it's time to go. So here I am, kind of like spaced out, because we're all like, you know, that's what happens to you.
Yeah.
So we ended up leaving, but the entranceway had been blocked. Like there was crap, trees, whatever, branches blocking the way, and obviously people got, I think there was 2 or 3 vehicles. I remember some of the people that I was in a truck, my friend's truck, and he had a German Shepherd dog. And some of the other people that were in the truck, and we left. And me and Kelly were super sick, like for days. Like me and her were, I think that's like one of the worst times I have ever been sick. The other time was up in 2022, something that happened to me in Idaho, not far from my house. So now, I don't know what year it is, 2002, 2003. I don't know. But I didn't go back into the woods for a long time after that happened. Again, I'm thinking they're flesh and blood. They're bad, that they can probably kill you. They can, you know, that was my mentality. So eventually I did go back into the woods, and, you know, sorry, Larry, I'll have to. And in Oklahoma, I had a lot of the same things happen. We would take our horses, and one time I was, my husband, so what would happen is we would go with a group of people in October. And this one October, my husband took off riding with some other people, and I didn't go. I don't know why I didn't go. Anyway, usually somebody would use my horse, because I always had like really easygoing horses. And if I would ride one day, we would be gone, ride like all day, like 40 miles, you know, round trip and back. We had like a line of horses that would go, and then there was a Jeep in the back that held like food and drinks, so that, and we just had a great day. And not everybody would ride. Some people would stay back at camp with, you know, watch their kids, and we would help each other out. Someone always wanted to ride my horse. So on this one day, I think we were with a lot of people, but all I know is that I stayed back at camp, and my horse was there, and there were some Choctaw First Nations people there, and I don't remember who they were. They were not anyone I knew. But so they left, and I tried to get on my horse to go up this hill. And one of the things my husband always said was, don't go off alone. Well, I figured I wasn't going that far, and I mean, I really didn't go that far. I went up this hill, and my dog was with us, Rex. He was part coyote. Was he part coyote? No, that was Roxy. So this dog, Rex, was with us, was with me. And when my horse got up to the top of this hill, or mountain, I call it a hill, he just snapped around, and I just like saw my dog, and I just grabbed the horn and part of his mane, and he just ripped down the mountain. And I thought, oh my gosh, like he jumped this log, and I kind of slid. So I wasn't ready for that. No. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so we got down back to camp, and I was shaking. I, you know, tried to look off to the side. I don't remember if I saw anything. Someone said one time in a podcast, I said that I saw a flash of black. Like, I don't know. Right now I'm spacing it. But I know we ran back to camp, and I got off JJ, my horse. I think it was JJ. And either it was JJ or Star, my other horse that I had, because she was also the horse that I had before him in those years. So it was one of those horses. So I got off of him, and then I remember, I think my husband got mad about something. I don't know. And then we ended up tying JJ up to a tree, like his head, you know, you train him like to have so much room. And I remember I didn't like that. And then the Indian, the Choctaw guy was saying something in his language, and I was like, what? And he says, he just walked up to him and untied him. I think that was before my husband got there. Anyway, so he walked down to the creek and he walked him in the creek, and I'm just like watching him, and he's telling me in his language, and he says, and you don't do that again. I'm like, I don't even know what you said. He's like, well, you should know, you're native. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, maybe in a different language. I'm like, I'm not. No, I'm not. And it was like he knew something, and he was just telling me, and he said, you know, you don't like do, I said, what did I do wrong? I went up the hill, and then I don't know. He never was clear with me what I did wrong. And then my husband came back, and I know we tried to tie JJ up, but I think he was fine. And then I don't know. I really don't remember a lot. That was just a weird thing. So I've been chased out. I have been not chased out. I have been escorted out. That's the correct term. Because trust me, if they wanted to get me, they would have. If they would have wanted to do any other harm, they would have. You know? But at the time, that's what I was thinking. That was what my experience was. But now I know it was something else. Just like that night there, whatever was going on, there was a lot of something coming in, and people had night vision. And they said, it's time to go in East Texas.
Do you think MUFON built that up? Like, so for people who don't know, MUFON is the mutual UFO network. They report, they investigate, they do abductions. They are, and they consider themselves a really expansive database. I'm going to be careful what I say here. There's a lot of people. You can pay to be a member. You can pro yourself up. You can be a basic member. So is it money related? Oh. They have a lot of technology. They have a lot of things. They come in force. Are they government backed? I don't know. Do your own research and find out what you want to find out. That's all I'm going to say. Open that door yourself and come to your own conclusions. But when MUFON gets involved, a lot of times things amp up. So are they using EM pumps? So they're using things that other people are not aware of to generate this activity? Are they calling in things from above that disrupt the things from below? I mean, as a conspiracy theorist, I have to ask those things. Like, maybe it's a possibility.
I didn't even know everything, all that you said. I don't know that much about them. I just know that they are a large group, and I've just heard it over, a couple of different times. I don't know I just know, like, I just barely remember. Another guy was chased to the truck by a Sasquatch, and I think it like swatted at him, but that's not my story to tell. So that's all I know about that. What's that?
MUFON. For those people who do research, MUFON. So there you go.
Okay.
Well, I just put it out there for people to do their own research. Question real quick. Damien asks, when it comes to Sassy's Bigfoot, do you feel their learning is DNA, natural heritage, or natural instinct, or is taught through social learning?
So there's different types out there, okay? And we will get into that briefly. Like, for example, the ones in East Texas, I did an experiment with, after living in Idaho for over 20 years, and then me and my husband Snowbird, I guess I should have said in the beginning that, well, I'm getting there. 2004, me and my husband moved to North Idaho with our 2 kids, and our horses we hauled up there, and our animals with the Army. And so I will get into that, because that's when it gets really crazy and really weird, because after that experience, and after a lot of other things, I was going to be done researching, like, period. And so a lot of things have happened. I've been chased out from areas. Well, I say chased out, escorted out. I have been, I've seen them multiple times.
Brian asked, have you actually seen one? Yes. There you go.
Yes. And so going to answer the question, they are they're ancient people, an ancient race, ancient beings, whatever you want to call them. They're ancient. So they already know, like they know, like they were here before I think that we came. But I also think that there's different types. I think that there are some breeds, some DNA. There's different. This is what I was told. And when I get into Idaho, you'll understand what I mean. So the ones here in East Texas that I have seen are, some are built, some are skinnier. I know some people have dealt with three-toed tracks here. I might have seen three-toed tracks. I'm not really for sure. They seem to be more aggressive here in Texas. I don't know why that is. And then other people will say, nah, I think it's what you expect to happen to you when you go out into the field. Your intention is everything. I tell everybody, do not open up Pandora's box if you're not ready for it. Like some people, like in my instance, I think it's a combination of everything, who I am, the way I was born. I question everything. You ask anyone, I'm always arguing with somebody about something, or I go down those rabbit holes, conspiracy theorists. So for me, it was easy to be, I've always been independent in my thinking, but I'm also easily swayed as well as a human being. I had a lot of things happen to me. I think that was the scariest night as far as what happened in East Texas. And in Oklahoma, one night, like that happened when I was chased down, and then my horse was fine. So I always look at the animals. I was looking at my horse. If I remember correctly, he was fine. So if it was such a bad experience, then why is he fine? Another thing I've seen here on this property, this is where we lived before we moved to North Idaho. I'm on a property here in East Texas where I have a double wide trailer, because we in 1997, we sold a house, and then we were going to buy another house, but there was all this red tape. And so we bought our manufactured home and put it on this property out here in the country. And my in-laws have a house, this house here. My house is actually, it's not my house anymore. It's another family member's. And then my sister-in-law has a house on this couple of acres as well. So as far as Oklahoma goes, I've had some pretty hairy experiences as well. But then in 2004, we got transferred up to North Idaho. So my husband left first, and I worked in Dallas, Texas, and my kids were little. My youngest was 18 months. Pretty much, he was a year old when my husband left. And so he walked here when my husband was gone. So my husband missed that with my younger son. My older son, they're 7 years apart. Which is really, really weird, because I never knew I had any problems like getting pregnant or anything like that. I think it was stress-induced with my job, living the rat race, thinking I wanted to climb the corporate ladder. I wanted to make more money. I wanted to keep up with the jumps. My life is so simple now. That's
I love it. I love it.
That's the mentality, I wasn't happy. And I know I wasn't happy.
More people, though, that go down this path, and it doesn't matter whether it's cryptid or it's metaphysical. When people they open that door, there's a realization that hits that, damn, it's not about the money. Like, I got sick as a nurse. I was working 5-6 days a week, 12, 16-hour shifts. My life was work. My life was, I am a nurse. I was also a mother and a wife and all these other things, but I am a nurse first. Family did not come first. Paycheck, money, got to make the money, came first. I got sick. I had a spirit guide save me. And by God, it's like, you're going to do this work. And it's amazing. I lived the same lifestyle I lived before when I was making 70-some grand a year. What the hell? How is that working out? How is that working out that I'm having fun now? And I'm not as tapped in. I'm still materialistic. I still do those kind of things. Sure. But I'm not tied into work. It's not about chasing that rat race anymore.
No, it isn't. And in the early 2000s, before we moved, I've always loved like Montana. Don't ask me why. Like, I was born this way. My mother will tell you, when I was little, I had a favorite book. It was about a black horse. I think it was Black Beauty. And I always loved watching Western movies. And like, you know, I was raised like with your Mexican shows and all that, you know what I mean? And here I am wanting to watch the, and my family's like, well, that's like so weird. Like, where's that coming from? I don't know.
It's past life.
You know?
It's past life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
your subconscious knows you were there.
I've always loved the Native American culture. I've always loved wide open spaces. I've always loved the ocean. I've always loved the mountains. But after seeing that film, I never wanted to go into the woods subconsciously. That just, I'm not that we went camping all the time, but no. So I was also raised in Laredo, Texas, and the family, I think, had a ranch. It was, I don't know whose ranch it was, but you know, there was woods, and I never went into those woods. I remember that they would go hog hunting, they would go deer hunting, snake hunting, and I stayed clear away from that. I remember, and that was from watching that film, seeing the Sasquatch, you know, the Patty film. So, you know, I had things happen in Oklahoma. One night we were camping without the horses. And this is, I'm into the research now deep, like a couple of years. I've seen everything, or I think that I have, and I've heard everything. I've seen them, you know. I've seen one. And when we were camping, it was me, my husband, my older son. I don't think my younger son was born yet because, you know, they're 7 years apart. I don't know what year it was. But, you know, we were there by my favorite spot in the creek, and we had to park a little bit further away because that night I needed my inhaler, and I didn't want to ask my husband to get up because then I would get the lecture of why weren't you prepared and have it with you when you're in your cot? Pues quien sabe? I don't know, you know, like whatever. So I got up, he said, I'm going to the truck to get my inhaler. So when I was walking there, something was on the side, like flanking me. And when I stopped, it would stop. And I knew what it was. And I was like, whatever, like just, I'm not doing Bigfooting stuff this weekend already, like quit. And I wasn't really scared until I closed the door. And I heard like, I wasn't sure if it was a growl or a grunt. I think it was a growl. I was telling myself it was a grunt. I was like, okay. So I started walking back to the truck, and then that was when I was like, all right, let's hurry up. So I got back to camp, and it was late, and I tried to go to sleep. And then all of a sudden I heard like howling. If we're in our tents asleep. And, you know, that didn't keep me awake because I have encountered that many times where they're flanking me, and I'm just camping. Come on, like, don't follow me now.
It's boundaries.
Yeah, like I didn't know how to set my boundaries at that time or how to protect myself. Anyway, so we're laying there. I know I was on a cot, or someone was on a cot, and it was my son and my husband. I don't know if there was another family member in a smaller tent. I don't know. But all of a sudden, I heard the howling, like the nighttime patrol thing. But they were targeting us. And they came like at 2 o'clock from where I am laying down, 2 o'clock. If you think like right there. And then I said, you know, here we go. And then, like, I don't know, an hour or two later, 4 o'clock or 5, 6 o'clock. And then I was like, oh my gosh. And then they got like far away, but it's like they weren't far away. Like they just came out of like the dimensional, like, you know, like, and you'll hear this from a lot of people. Like I heard them, but I don't know where it was coming out of thin air. So that to me tells me you can't pinpoint exactly where it was coming from because it was, so I don't know if that was the case.
They're travelers.
Yeah, so, but they were clearly circling our tent, and then they got really loud, and my husband sat up, and he went to the truck and opened the truck because it was going ding, 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 and he because I think he got our bigger, he had a pistol on him, but I think he got the bigger rifle or something, and he closed the door, and he stood out there for a little bit. Now, my husband is not into this topic. He has had a encounter in Oklahoma. I will tell you that story really quickly here in a minute before we get into Idaho. there's a question. Do you ever come across investigations where you found a different type of cryptid, and do you go prepared with fact? Your investigating could take a turn from a solid entity to something more dimensional. Yes, and we will get into that when I get into it'll be easier for me to explain that when I get into my Idaho story, and then you'll see why. Because I mean, that was happening to me in Idaho, which I'll get into, and the things that were happening with that, which I really didn't appreciate or like, because again, I was raised in your typical Hispanic home, Catholic. You don't play with crystals. You don't go there. If it is metaphysical, meaning like a spirit or something, you don't play with Ouija boards. You don't do crystals. You don't. Y'all know what I mean.
Oh yeah.
So my husband, I mean, it was 6 a.m. and then finally it was quiet, and I said, Lord, just get me through this night. And I was so scared. And my husband goes, are you awake? And I think eventually later, I sat up, because I mean, they got like really close, and it was like they were like right on top of us, but like they weren't, but they completely circled our tent. And sometimes they were far away, but it's like, where are you coming from? And then you could tell, you're right there. But then, and it felt like they were coming like, whoa, like right on top of us. Right. I was like, they were messing with us, obviously. And so that's all that I remember from that night, other than I woke up at 9 a.m. the next morning, and I swore I was never going to come back to Honobia, but of course I did. But that was a very scary night, and I don't know why they did that, what happened there, but so again, a million stories, but I want to go ahead and move forward. That 2004 came along. My husband left like right before New Year's Day, and I stayed back here to quit my job. I had to train someone. I had to get the horses ready. I had to do a lot. So my husband started looking for a house up in Idaho, and I'm like, oh crap. Yeah, I guess we need a house. So a family member purchased our house here, so we didn't have to rent it out to strangers on the property. And also, like I said at that time, it was just what worked out for us. So the family member purchased our house so we could be able to purchase our house, because I quit my job, but we did use my job, I think, as to get our house up in Idaho. I don't even know what I said, but whatever. Like, I did not think.
You made it.
I did not think.
You made it.
I did not think. Yes, I did. And I told my husband, I was in my office, and he said, oh, I found this place. Because at that time, it was 2004, and things in North Idaho were really going crazy, like right before the 2008, like drop off of the Fannie Mae and all that crap. I said, look, I just asked for two things: no house in the woods, and no crazy crap like that, And so he said, oh, I found this place, but it's not like really what I want, and it's above our price range. And I'm like, it's a dump. It's a dump. And I was like, no, heck no. So he kept looking, and then he calls me in my office. My husband was over the 321st Engineer Battalion out of North Idaho, which is not there anymore. It's became something else, but he was over the motor pool. And at that time, as everybody knows, with the war and all the bullshit things they created, which we know is what they did. It's what I believe anyway. Anyway, that's another video. That's another video. But at that time, I didn't have this mentality. I was just thinking, okay, so he said, oh, there's this house. And he said, it's there's woods. I'm like, nope. Forget it. Like, no. And he sent me pictures of the house. It wasn't even completed in the inside. It was just like 2x4s, but the outside, it was beautiful. Running from porch, the house I always wanted. Like, they knew exactly how to get me. They knew. I was like,
right in. Right in.
You're gonna have to go somewhere else, honey. And he did, and he came back and he said, I can't believe this house is on the market still. Like, he said, I put an offer on it. What? excuse me? I'm in a conference in my North Idaho office. My boss is like, Goodbrake, you're getting loud. I'm like, I get my phone, I close my office door, and I'm like, I ain't going. I said, and he's like, I told you. Okay, so my husband is not into this topic. Like, he's not into this topic, okay? And he had an encounter in Oklahoma because in 2002, I got pregnant. My son was born my younger son was born January 2003. So really quick, my husband and some friends took our horses. It was 3 of them. And they took my horse too. You know, I couldn't ride. I was big and I was only like 6 months or so along. So I stayed home. Well, when they came back, one of my husband's friends walked in and he said, hey, so something happened to Ron. I'm like, what? I thought he hurt himself. He's like, he saw something. And I was like, what?
Oh.
So, and if you know my husband, he's pretty he's not gray, he's either black and white, okay? And he tells you, he doesn't mince his words. He's 6'5", and if you don't want to hear it, he will tell you, I don't want to hear it. He's actually kind of rude if you ask me, like, you know, but I've learned to deal with him. You know, like other people, you know, he doesn't mince his words. So I went outside. I was, you know, I knew how to approach him, which was not, oh, hey, tell me about it. No, not like that. He said, I'm going to tell you this one time and one time only. And I don't want you to drill me. Oh, I was like, Scout's honor, whatever. They were on a trail going up a fire. There's a fire break in the trees. The trail goes this way. There's a fire break this way, okay? There's like a clear path of where the trees have been knocked down. Everything else is super wooded. So it's Joe, Melissa, and my husband left. My husband wears glasses. So I don't remember if he had his glasses on or off. A lot of the times he took them off. So that can be like, what am I seeing, right? But I know what he said. He said, well, I saw something leaning against a tree, and it was looking directly at me, and it didn't come out of the woods until Melissa turned that corner. After Joe turned that corner, Joe went that way, Melissa went that way. Here comes Ron on Isla, which is a 17 hands, big ass horse, thoroughbred, that I would knock it on, but she was really fun, but her height intimidated me. So he said it wasn't a bear, it wasn't a deer, and it was standing on 2 legs, and it looked at me like to have the encounter, because I used to pray, I hope he has an encounter. And then it went back into the woods. And that's basically it. Now, if you ask him today, he's going to be like, I don't know. I've slept since then.
I don't know.
He just doesn't care. He doesn't care. So that was his encounter. So that helped a little bit. And anyway, so now he's looking for the house. And have you ever had them get in your head? I've heard that. Yes. We will get all into that. All those paranormal questions. So he put an offer down on the house, and we got it. So here's the crazy thing. After he signed the paperwork, we had 2 offers on the house to buy it. One was $40,000 more and $60,000 more. And the guy said, how come this wasn't on the freaking MLS? What do you mean it wasn't on the MLS? Nobody could see that house on the MLS, just my husband. Now, if you ask him that today, he's going to be like, I don't know what she's talking about. He's going to say I'm higher than a kite or something. But I remember we had offers. Well, why didn't you make an offer on the house before we did? Why are all of a sudden, when we signed the paperwork, which we had 3 weeks for him to come get me down, like he did, it was like last minute, okay? Like it was getting down to crunch time where I was going to have to stay here till he bought a place. He was staying with wherever the Army put him. I don't know, in some apartment. So I think what happened, or what I had been told, because my property has been remote viewed, we will also get into that I was meant to live there. They also wanted, they knew what I wanted. They knew what I would need to survive as far as accepting it, because I fought and I screamed, every bit along the way because I wanted to go to Montana. So our choices were North Idaho or Pennsylvania. Well, I'm not going to Pennsylvania. So I just could not believe it. And then I started getting excited. I thought, well, okay, I just will, I'm just not going to research anymore. So the Army came and got all of our furniture here, and then they took off. And then I had, I don't know, a couple of weeks left. Then my husband got the house, and then the Army got up there with their stuff, and he, him and some other friends, they built a fence in 2 weeks for our horses. Now our property is all wooded. Everything around it is wooded. And then I find out that in front of me is a mountain called Hoodoo. Hoodoo. Oh, yeah. Oh, thanks. Great. That's just great.
But you wouldn't have gone knowing that. See?
I wouldn't have. Nope. Like I said, I'm very, what's the word? Stuff like that is like a definite no. Again, some other things happened to where I have got verification over and over that I was meant to live there. So,
yeah.
So he is unpacking the stuff there. He would call me at night, sitting on the front porch. And I have this bench that I just love that I bought here somewhere in East Texas. And it still sits on my front porch up there. And it is old and ugly now, but, it's been painted, or we're going to paint it. But it's there. And it's been with me because I sit out there with my kids when they were young, especially my youngest. He was 18 months. So the time comes where he's put up a fence, he's unloaded the furniture, everything is boxed. He stuck a lot of things in the garage, and he will call me at night and say, I hear wolves out, I hear elk, I saw a moose. And so now I'm starting to get excited. I'm like, I hate my boss. I hate this life. I want to get out. I want to get out of the rat race. I hated leaving the property and my in-laws because my kids, this is their life.
Sure.
And I've asked myself many times, did I make a mistake? Did I make a mistake? Well, what was meant to be is not a mistake. So I changed my mindset to stop acting so human, Cindy, when you already know what your layout was. Like, this was part of the plan. So we travel up there, and someone came with my husband down, and I went part-time at my job, and I started to get excited. I got the horses ready. We had to do a Coggins test, made sure they were shooting, all that stuff for travel. And the day came and we left, and it was a hard day. I cried, and I still cry when I tell that story, so I'm not going to cry right now. And it was hard leaving, but it took us 4 days because we would unload the horses at a ranch along the way. I had a book. I still have it. It's like B&B for horses, traveling, whatever. And so we kind of like pre-planned ahead, and I called some of these ranches and got their protocol. And then if we didn't make it, well, there's another one 100 miles down the road. So we had it all planned out. So it was a great 4 days of traveling with the horses. We would always stop at whatever destination, and people were like patriotic, like today, I think, whatever. But at that time, people were very nice, like, why are you moving? Oh, you're a military family, so. And it was great seeing the mountains again. I was like, oh my gosh, like my world is, I knew my world was fixing to change. Up in North Idaho is Coeur d'Alene. So anyone who knows Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, if you go north, you will hit the Canadian border. You'll run into Sandpoint, Idaho. So here's Coeur d'Alene, the skinny part of Idaho. The very top of Idaho is where I live. Like, the Canadian border is about an hour and a half. So I'm not at the Canadian border, but I live in a town that a lot of people, it's not corporated. It's a very small town. Like, there's a store there, a bar, and like the Grange, and everybody knows each other. So my husband kind of got to know some of the people in the month or whatever time frame that he was there in the house. And my husband would say, God, there's a lot of Indians up here. And, he's like, when you come up here, everyone's going to think you're Indian. Like, and he would like scare me, like, hey, the KKK is up here. Like, like, we need to like be careful. I was like, shut up. Like, I don't care. Like, they'll fall in love with me. or I'll show them, because I'm always like, arguing with people. I'm like, well, hey, listen, dude, here, like I get to live here too, If you don't like it, well, get over it.
I love it.
So the day I was coming over on I-90, I will never forget, because I get like motion sickness really fast. And I was like, Lolo Pass and the 4th of July Pass. And the Lolo Pass, I think, one of them goes up like this and it goes down. I was like, oh. Somebody was driving my little Isuzu Amigo on the way up. So we made it here in 4 days. The horses were all fine. And I will never forget when we pulled around, coming around I-90 to come around this way. And I could see Lake Coeur d'Alene. It is blue. And it was cold. It was June. And it was in the afternoon. And it was not anything like Texas.
Polar opposite.
Right. So I said, well, how much further? He said, well, 45 minutes. I was like, but I was ready to get out and explore. So we pulled into our town. I'm like, oh, this is cute, and then our horse trailer is 38 feet long. 38 feet, yes, 38 feet long. And so that's what we were hauling. And so we pulled down the cutoff road, and then we pulled into our road, and it is like a logging road. And I'm like, are you going to be able to get the horse trailer? Because it's 5 acres, it's like 20 acres long, the road, okay? My road, then there's another road, and then here's a cutoff road in front of my road. So I am right at the bottom, kind of Hoodoo Mountain. I can hear every sound in the valley that will bounce off.
That's beautiful. Beautiful.
And so when you hear an elk bugling, I can hear it. Like I know it's somewhere in the area there of, or a moose or whatever. Wolves, I've heard many wolves. Like I've waited my whole lifetime to hear stuff like that. It was like it was in my DNA. I just could not believe it. My husband stopped in the road. I was like, oh, it's a skinny road. I'm like, I can't believe you got the horse trailer in here. He's like, oh yeah. And then he stopped and he said, this is our property. And I looked out the window. I could see the fence line that they had put up. It took them like 2 weeks to put this fence up like really fast. And it was, it actually needed a lot of work, but they needed to put up the hot tape to keep that zap the horses, that want to try to get out, but they didn't get to do that. And then the other thing was no barbed wire. We had barbed wire here just because that's how it was already fenced. And we had some horse injuries as a result from being traced into the barbed wire. So for me, I don't want barbed wire. So the fence they put up was just regular, fencing. So I was looking out the fence line, and it seemed, again, it's only like under 6 acres, 5.5, something. I don't know exactly. But I could see the fence line. And I remember thinking, holy crap, this is my property. And then I looked across the street. Something was pulling me. I went to the other side of the truck. Well, I mean, I'm sitting, in the front seat, but I had to get in the back seat because my younger son, who was like 18 months or barely, he was in his car seat. So I had to hop back there really quick because I remember I was in the back seat and I was craning my neck out. And I was like, that's Hoodoo Mountain. Holy crap. And it was and it wasn't hot. It wasn't humid. I remember smelling the white pine, and it was like home, like home. And I am so confused, and I'm already supposed to be done researching. And Ron goes, look, a structure. Sasquatch, they build things, structures, that's their artwork. That's their way of using sacred geometry for energy to flow through. Who knows? Like I said, this is all new to me, but we know they build things. We know that they can do infrasound. But still, my mindset was flesh and blood at that time. So we got out of the truck. We hadn't pulled in yet. And I was thinking, now the property next to me, to the left, So if I'm standing in the road looking at my house, the property to the left, or if whatever on that side was empty. Across the street was empty, 10 acres, and then it goes up the mountain. There was nobody on that road either. And the property across the street goes down like this. And over the years, they would come crawl across like spiders. Sasquatch can crawl like a spider. And I've witnessed that before because I've seen a head pop up, right, once before. And in case I forget to tell that story, because I always forget to tell that story, but years down the road, I would be sitting on this bench I told y'all about on my front porch, and I was like, what the heck is that? Because I would get up and I would have a routine. I would go out into the woods and on this, like really early in the morning. So one time I did see like a head pop up, and I was just like, what the heck? And I ran to the end of my woods, like where it meets the road, because I had a front yard, but the retreat, there was massive trees. I did have a couple of tamaracks, no cedars. I wished I had cedars, but I had different pine trees on my property. And there's one in my yard that's like this big, massive one. It's probably like 100 feet tall or 50, 60 cent. Well, I don't know. But the first thing I thought was that thing's going to fall on my house. You know, seeing the house, I'm thinking, oh, that's going to be a problem. You know, it was still standing today. So the property across the street, it kind of slows down like this. And I have gotten so much attention where they will watch us, like over my kids grow up. So at the very beginning, so now we are there, and I'm already like looking at structures, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And I said I was going to be researching. So my husband goes, okay, well, I need to, you know, we need to unload the horses. So he pulled the horse trailer in, and when he did, you know, the kids were still in the truck. And I was standing there, and something landed at my feet. I'm like, it was a freaking stone. They do that. They'll throw stones at you, pebbles. I looked down, and I looked across the street, and I was like, okay, here we go. And I was like, okay, no, I'm not researching. Like, stop. No, I'm not. I'm not. No. Just because we believe the Jubies do that. At least that's what my experience was. So I remember looking back, and I remember thinking in my head, me and you, we're going to have a rodeo. Me and you, we're going to have a rodeo. I was talking about the land. And so we unloaded the horses, and, you know, the kids are like, ah. And then my husband's like, come on, I want to show you we put the horses in the gate. And he was showing me the whole property, and there was no trails at all. We're talking about land that has never been touched since the Lewis and Clark days. Okay.
For a long time, they were excited.
Yes. And so I felt this knowing that I didn't want to know. Okay. I banished it from my desire to have anything to do, you know. So I just pretended that didn't happen. And then I remember I heard something like, they'll break things in the woods, like, hey, we're here. They'll break things. And I remember there was a couple of things that happened, and I was just like, oh no, we're not doing that. So we walked the property for very briefly, and then we got in the truck and we left, and he went to go show me Priest River, and we went to go eat, and then we came back, and then the Army, let's see, did the Army come? No. That was the second time we had to move and come back. So I spent the next couple of days meeting one of the neighbors who had a son, my older son's age, and a younger kid. And our kids grew up together. And my husband had to go back to work. So I spent the next couple of months getting to know the people. You know, they had like events. They had a thing called Blanchard Days. And I found a babysitter, you know, I could trust through a friend that I met up there. And, you know, life became normal. I had a routine, and my husband would get up, he would go to his unit, and it was summertime. So the kids usually were still asleep. Sometimes my older son would get up, and, you know, they'd run and go watch Hannah Montana or whatever show, right? The Simpsons.
Oh yeah.
Boy, what we know about the Simpsons now,
Woo!
huh?
Very predictive.
Yeah, but that's a whole other show. Anyway, so I'm trying to get this thing off my phone here. I have this new phone and things keep popping up. So basically, I was finding things on my porch like rocks, and then words got out. There's a Bigfoot lady here in town, and then I met someone. Her husband was a cop, and then this other cop called me, and he said, "Hey, something happened," and I forgot what year it was. I had a report of a Sasquatch sighting or of a hairy man in Apple, Idaho. So he told me here's a report, and it's actually written up on the BFRO database. And then you know what? I just started taking reports. I started walking my property, and I would tell people, "Well, I'm not really researching anymore." Ha! Yeah, I was. But then, and then that was life. And then we had done some experiments in East Texas. So, I was trying to find out who I was because all I ever knew was the corporate world working. So now I've lost my salary. So now we're really poor. Mm-hmm. I have a bigger mortgage than I did here in East Texas. Penny pinching was something new, and I was not good with money. So my husband would say, "You have this much for groceries." I'd be like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, okay. And then I would go to his unit because I would take my younger son. My older son went to a private school here in Terrell, Texas, which is down the road. But we went with the public education system up there because it was a tiny school. And I figured, well, what harm could it do? Public education. That's another video. I don't recommend public education, but I didn't say that. Okay, that's a different show. No. That's about the other conspiracy theory.
My grandson is homeschooled. Yeah.
Huh?
My grandchild is homeschooled.
Okay, yeah, we're on the same page. Yeah, so, but I mean, it was basic, the things. So I got involved in, the school activities, and then I, go up and have lunch with my husband at the unit. And here in Dallas, when he was active duty, there was a thing called family support, family readiness. And there was a strong unit here in Dallas, Texas, and I really liked it. Now, up there, we're talking a tiny unit, and I was very homesick for Texas. Here I am at this brand new house. It, was not very big. Things are happening. You'd think I'd be like happy, right? But I started getting depressed, and I would sit on the front porch and, I feel sorry for myself. So dumb. So I just tried to be positive. I got involved in things, and I went up to my husband's unit, and they asked if I wanted to do family support. So I said, sure. I didn't even know what to do, how to do it. They said, here's the manual. There's your office. You can bring your kid with you. I'm like, yeah, of course I am. Like, we all got daycare here? No, I don't think so. Because my husband was AGR, which is Active Guard Reserve, which means the once a month guys that come there. So it's a skeleton crew. You have the skeleton crew inside, and then the office or the main whatever unit. Then you have the unit for the motor pool. My husband was over that. So that was his daily job. But then he dealt with the soldiers once a month. And it was his job to get them ready for whatever, to go overseas or whatever his job was. So I got involved with family support, and so I was busy. I would go up there, I would sit up there, read the manual, and then I would start working like with some of the other guys there. And we would do things for the soldiers. We would and then I got to know some of the other wives. This is all in a couple of short months. And then things were ramping up, at my house. I was hearing things, and then finally one day I heard like things out in my woods, like breaking stuff. Like it ramped up from structures in the woods. I started doing what I was taught, which is to be quiet and be patient and learn your environment. Okay. I went back to the beginning because I'm in a new area. I'm in the Inland Pacific Northwest. So I started learning all the birds, all the beasts, all the animals, all the tribes, all the beliefs. And then I got down to the very disturbing Hoodoo Mountain lore. Like I saved that for last. Subconsciously I avoided that for a reason because I wasn't ready for that. level yet, and that was the main purpose for that. So I started. So things were ramping up. I was hearing like things breaking in the woods, and I would run out there. And a lot of the times in the morning, like when school started, the fog would roll in, and it looked like a werewolf was going to come out at any moment. Those movies that you see, you know. I'm not into Dogman. I didn't even know what a Dogman was at that time early on. So I was like, what the heck? So then things just started around. I do now. Yeah. So I do now. So over the next couple of years, I learned what hoodoo was. I mean, if you look up hoodoo, there's things voodoo, hoodoo. There are some Cajun backgrounds there. There is other Indian folklore. So pick and choose, because it all goes back to the same thing, spiritual. Okay.
So there's a legend, so that people know, because people want to know something before they look it up. The legends, they have distinctive rock pillars. They've been shaped by erosion and other things. Legend people transformed into stone as punishment for their misdeeds. There are coyote people who are trickster gods. So now we're getting into what maybe shape-shifting things, interdimensional creatures that can come and go. There's a tribe there that actively believes this, and this is part of their stories. It's located in the boundary ranges of the British Columbia, and the hoodoos of Bryce Canyon. It is volcano.
Okay, so that's actually a different area.
That's a different area than your area?
Yes. Okay. Mine is North Idaho, Bonner County, but a lot of the things, what you said, the beliefs, the legends are all there. So pretty much the same thing, just in the area as North Idaho. And there is a lot of lore. So basically you described what my area is all like about, legend and lore.
So enter your Mothman, enter your Dogman, enter your shapeshifter.
Thunderbirds, shapeshifters, Indian lore, the little people, the elementals, the land spirits. You know, I knew nothing about this because I didn't want to know. So over the years, I mean, I was embracing it. Things were happening to me. For example, in the morning, I would go outside, and when fall comes, the fog rolls in. I was hearing, breaks, but I was seeing nothing there. So I think subconsciously I started opening up a little bit more. And my older son graduated 2012. He would be camping with some of his, for example, one year, I don't know what year it was, he was camping out in the back of our property with some friends, and they heard walking around, and then he came in and said, no, it wasn't us. There's one example of an encounter for him. Now, my older son is more lighter like my husband, okay? And he would go to his friend's home on 60 acres on the other side of Hoodoo Mountain, and they would camp out there. And the mother and me became pretty good friends, and her and her husband moved there in the 80s where there was nobody around. They bought 60 acres there. They put a house on the property, and her husband would take off for work, and she was home alone with the kids. And even years later, like before I even moved there, she would smell things. She would have a smell like flowers. I think one time she said she smelled something a little bit more questionable, but it wasn't like really reeky, like how some of these things that you hear, like really bad smells. She started carrying a pistol around because she felt watched. She would find dead animals on her porch, and she's just someone who moved there from Reno, or not Reno. What is that big, beautiful lake? Whatever. They moved from this, what's that lake in freaking Nevada? That really big, beautiful lake. Well, anyway, so they moved there. One day her husband was coming home, and the road to get around to their house is like, in wintertime, forget it. If you don't have four-wheel drive, forget it. I mean, now it's a better road, but back then he was coming home from work, and there it gets dark at 3:45, and it's really dark at 4 p.m. And the bus usually brings the kids around 4 p.m. because they get out at 3:10. the bus, you know, depends on the route. We'll get there 3:45 or 4 o'clock. Well, one day her husband was coming home. This is before their kids were in school, I think. And I think it was in the 80s or maybe in the 90s. And he saw something dark cross the road and he stopped. And it was crouched over like this and it went like that. And he said, I saw a Sasquatch. And she's like, try hanging clothes outside and you see them looking at you. She said she knows she saw one. It was a second. And she thinks it was a female. I said, how do you know it's a female? She said, I felt it. And see, I was like, you're kind of in tune with some of your abilities, but for her, she was sure it's female. So, and then she's had other stories, like when our kids would camp out together, my son and her 2 kids, like they would hear things. So, you know what? My older son has had some encounters like that. Now, my younger son is dark like me. He has a lot of, he's completely like from 2 different DNA lines. Like, you know, and I tell this to everybody. I don't care if there are 5 siblings. You can do 5 different tests and your DNA line can go different ways. Am I correct with that?
Yes.
So, my younger son, he's like me a lot in some ways, and he's like his dad in some other ways. He's very independent in his thinking. He doesn't forget anything. You tell him you're going to do something, you need to follow up with that, or he won't like let it go. And that can be a blessing and a curse too. So, my younger son has had a lot more things happen over the years with him, but for time's sake, I want to tell you guys some of the things that were happening from 2004 to 2017. So I would take the kids to school in the morning, you know, my older son first. And then one morning, we would have to leave like at 6:30 or 6:40. Sometimes the bus will come at 6:45. And in wintertime there, I would have to go down my long road and then down another long road, which I could walk. It would take me 10 minutes to get to the bus stop. But in the mornings, there's moose in the woods and it's dark. So technically, it's not really safe to be walking down the road in the dark. So I would leave and I would pick up a neighbor kid some mornings and I would go drop them off. Well, this one morning, my younger son was still at home in bed. He wasn't in school yet. My son, I picked up the neighbor kid, Cody, and my older son, John, and I was like 5 acres next to me. And then I had a flat tire. I'm like, oh my gosh, are you kidding? Because I could feel it on this rocky logging road. So I pulled over, I got out, and it's dark. And I'm like looking, it's like I can see, and I'm like, shoot. And I'm like, okay, y'all got to run. So I watched them run to the end of the road. And then I said, hurry, you're going to miss the bus. So they ran. And then I'm standing there looking. Now, me, all I have to do is walk home 5 acres down the road. No big deal. But it's dark. There's woods like this close to me. And I'm like.
And you're scared. Yeah.
Yeah. You can feel the energies like without seeing anything. So all of a sudden, I look at the thing and I start leaving to walk. And then I hear Cindy coming from the woods. Excuse me? I stop. And I look. I'm just looking in the woods. I'm sure I'm terrified, but not on the level of, I was curious. I was like, I said something like, what? Like, anything else? And I was like, whatever. Yeah, whatever. I don't have time. I'm not into this, okay? Like, goodbye. So, right. So I was more upset because I had a flat tire and I had somewhere to be or whatever. So I go home. I tell my husband, but on the walk home, keep in mind there's nothing but woods back to back. And so I looked at that property across the street because that property has this energy across the street. And I told my husband, he's like, okay, I'll get you it. And so he left. So that afternoon, I walked from my property in my backwoods to the next door property. And I remember walking around and I saw nothing. Then I came to the front of the property in the road to where my car was at. And then I walked to pick up my son to get him and my neighbor's son from the bus stop. And we came home and stuff like that would happen to me. And then our horse trailer, like years later, there was this deer that would the mom had died, and so the baby male deer, I forgot what you call that. Anyway, he was fed by people. So, you know, some of the neighbors would say, hey, there's this deer, you know, like, we kind of feed it, but at some point we're going to have to like get rid of it because it's going to be, you know, it's going to grow, it's going to get bigger. And we all know what that means, right? So one day, we were having a birthday party in the freaking cold. It was like snowing outside, but here we are, January. It was my younger son's birthday. He was probably 8 or 9. So that would make it before 2017, obviously. And I don't know what year it was. I know I have it written down because I've written a book. It's not published yet. It will be. And this deer walks up, and we're like, oh, that must be the deer. So all of his friends are there, and we're like, oh, and we're like, okay, like, be careful. So we were feeding the deer, and I remember when it was eating like, and it was just like looking at us. I'm like thinking, like, what the hell? Like, I got this weird vibe about the damn little deer. So then it left, and then like months later, when it was bigger, it was chasing women like that were on their monthly and like raising their, you know. So it had to be removed from the area, and some people did get it, and I don't know where they took it. I don't know if they took it somewhere else, or if they took it to where, you know, one of those people who saves the deers. I don't know, but word got out that yes, some people did round it up and did remove it from the area rather than someone shooting it, you know, whatever. Because I mean, we do shoot, but a lot of people fell in love with that deer, and they did not want to see it.
It was family.
They didn't want to see it somebody's, even though technically we hunt. But anyway, so the deer was removed. So stuff like that, like that might not be weird, but what happened when one afternoon, my neighbor called and said, or I called my neighbor and I said, now she's on the other side of me. So this side is empty property. Across the street is that empty, massive property. And actually, a lot of properties around me were empty. So then I needed something from my neighbor. I was going to borrow something, and it was going to be dark. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to hurry up and come over because, you know, it's getting dark. So I would cut through the woods. This part of my woods didn't creep me out like the back part of my woods. There was something about the right side of my woods that are just kind of creepy. So I ran through the woods. Well, I opened up my door, and at this time I didn't have a fence on my front property. So I opened up my front door, and my horse trailer was parked right there. Mm-hmm. We have this long driveway, and then it was shaking. And I thought that deer had gotten to the horse trailer. This is a two horse trailer. I couldn't say that. And the only way in is to unhinge the thing and open where you walk them in, you know? Now, there is a little side door there that, yes, you as a human, you know, you tie horses and you get out. But I mean, that's closed. So there's an opening from this up to the very top of the back of the trailer. So I thought, oh, something must have gotten in the trailer. I'm totally fine. I'm in a rush to get to my neighbor's house. Nothing is going on in my head. I just want to put that out there. And I hopped up on, and I looked in because I'm thinking I'm going to open it to let the little deer out or whatever, because it was making a noise like this, and it was shaking. So something had to have the energy to do all that. And I looked in there, and there was nothing there. And do you know, my heart just dropped down, and I was like, oh, okay, now. I started praying to God, Creator, and I said something. And because again, my mindset is different now. So at that time, I was praying in the name of Jesus, be gone. You know, whatever I said, and it stopped. And I just ran through the woods, and I knocked on the door. I was like banging on my neighbor's door. And my younger son was at home, and I was thinking, oh, I left him home alone. And I was breathing hard, and my neighbor goes, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know. I told her what happened. And she's like, no. We walked back, and she dragged me back there. I was like, no, Lisa, no. I don't want to go see it. Like, we need to like call a priest or something. You know, we need to ban whatever. And she's like, calm down, Cindy. And some other things had happened. Some of the neighbors heard like screaming in the night. And we were having this argument, like, was that a cougar? That wasn't a cougar. And then they would say, oh, then maybe that was a Sasquatch. Well, I didn't hear it, so I don't know. But another night I did hear a cougar scream. So she was trying to say, maybe it was a cougar. I said, Lisa, I hopped up. There was nothing in there. Do you understand? There was nothing in there. And so I stayed back.
Didn't see it.
I stayed at the tree line, like almost hugging the tree, and she looked in there, and she looked at me in her eyes, and she's like, "We need to pray right now." And so I don't know if we prayed or we didn't. And then I think I went back and I got what I needed, and then I think I walked home in the road, and it was dark. She might have given me a flashlight. I was okay by then, but now, you know, so things like that happen. So a lot of other things happened too that I couldn't explain. One morning I woke up, there was tracks where I feed the horses. So I've had missing horse feed. I've seen tracks, only a set of tracks that ended. There was like, where'd they go? So, you know, now comes into they couldn't have just vanished into thin air. So now I'm finding tracks on my property. My horses are being messed with, but they're fine. So again, going back to the theory of the Sasquatch will like part their hair and like, you know, maybe do what they call a braid, but it's not really a braid, and it's not a witch's knot. I've seen every knot there is, and I am telling you, this is not a knot. There's no barbed wire. So then people say, because people have like, you know, like they're trying to catch me in a lie, like in other discussions, like, well, maybe a tree would get like there, and I would be like, maybe, like, sometimes you can't just like, you can't push your beliefs on other people. Like, you just have to go, well, you know, maybe. But I know what it was, and there was no explanation. You know, I was like, okay, hold on now. Things are a little out of control here. So I'm walking in the woods now, and I've met my best friend now, who her sister is married to a Spokane elder, and she told me, so she was at my property, and she was seeing the structures and all this. So my friend has been on this journey with me. She still is my best friend today up in Spokane, Washington. So she has seen like a lot of the things I've talked about. She's been on my property. She's heard things. She's seen the tracks. She's seen, you know, witnessed a lot. And, you know, we're trying to come up with explanations, like some things you can't, especially hearing things out in the woods, and then there's nothing there, but you feel like there's an energy. And then I'm getting reports from people about like other things that are just crazy. Like, I don't want to have anything to do with that, because we're talking spirits now. So my friend's sister, who's married to the Spokane tribe, said, you need to sage your property. And so anyway, I met this other person who, me and her worked together over the years, because she lived on the other side of Hoodoo, and she's also, I think she's Lakota, a really, really nice person. And me and her have done a lot of work together over the years, because she was experiencing a lot of the things that I was experiencing. Mm-hmm. But as far as like me and my property, like there was a lot of other things that happened that make no sense. So then, you know, so now I've worked with other people. They've taught me how to clean my land. And then one day, so my husband retired in 2009 from the military. Then he became a private investigator. So he had like audio recorders laying around, and I said, I want an audio recorder. Someone said, you need to start putting out audio recorders, and you know, like the trail cams. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that, because that's just going to make him mad. Like, I already knew that. I'm not going to do that. I felt like naturally, like intuitively, I knew that was disrespectful of them. And then over time, I learned how to do things. And then a lot of the times I was having like a deja vu moment, like I did this in another lifetime. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Like everything I was learning, it was like I had done it some other time. So then I started staging the property. I started praying over the land. I started learning how to protect myself like that. Those are long explanations I won't go into, but I started getting in touch with myself, and I started opening up, and I didn't even realize it. And then I said, well, I came to a block, and I said, okay, I'm going to put out these audio recorders. So in 2017, so skip ahead all these years, a lot of other things happened. I would sit on my porch. I would hear them roaring up the mountain. I'm like, oh yeah, I want to hear it again. They didn't always but a lot of the times when my husband was gone, they would break things in the woods, or the structures would change. I knew every tree on my property like the back of my hand. My horses made trails in the woods. I knew every part of my property that made me feel weird. And then one day I got the ultimate, no, I don't think so. I got chanting, like Indian chanting, drums on my audio. Nope, erase. And I regret erasing that because I'm like, okay. Gosh. I'm like, nope, we're not doing this. I'm not doing this. And then if you add all the other things that happened to me, I was like, no. And then teenagers are going to be teenagers, right? And then each of my kids tested us, and I had to. And then me and my husband were arguing, and then I was thinking, am I doing something wrong here? Okay? So to answer that question about, did I go out with the right equipment, and what was my mindset? The question, did I ever think I would be dealing with any entities or anything? Yes, I did eventually. I had to learn how to discern, because I'm actually jumping ahead here, but yes, I did. And I'll explain to you in a little bit how I battled that discernment of what's evil, what isn't, battling that common ground of finding myself, who I am, and the surety of making decisions of what I'm dealing with at the moment. I did not want to have anything to do with the audios, and I really started researching this heavily. Other things were happening. For example, my older son met a woman that became his fiance and wife now. So this is what changed it for me. I started listening more to people like Arla. As a matter of fact, I would ask her questions. Tom Cottrell, if your folks want to go on YouTube and follow Barbara Shoop, Barbara Shoop, Shupe. She's got a channel. Look up Legacy Discoveries. They've got a great channel, Legacy Discoveries, just like it sounds, like on YouTube. They've got stuff on there you can follow. You can follow Texas Bigfoot. He's got Luke Gross. He's got a channel. I don't know how many videos he has, but I know he's got a couple. Look up A Flash of Beauty. Watch those 2 movies. I mean, it's just, they're documentaries, and they're beautiful. If you want to watch a good movie of where I'm going to be heading with this, look up Letters from the Big Man. So I know that's a lot, but that it could be something for your audience to look into that can help understand. And some might be watching right now that think everything I'm saying is a bunch of crap. Okay, that's fine. This is my journey. This is what happened to me. In 2017, it was Christmas time. I was all excited because, my kids are older now. My younger one is, he's a teenager, and my older son had met this girl, and it was a happy time, and it was snowing out, and it was Christmas morning, and we know Christmas really isn't Christmas, right? That's a different show. Anyway, but it's a holiday. It's an American holiday. Okay, so
sure
we're huh?
I said sure it is. Yeah, high dollar.
So, huh?
High dollar.
Oh yeah. So we took a family photo. Now she's a photographer, my son's wife, or girlfriend at the time. So she put up her tripod, and again, we have weapons and guns and all kinds of, because my husband military, and I grew up that way. We hunted, whatever. My external family, my father didn't go out there and hunt. He wasn't like Daniel Boone or nothing. But being our Army wife, that to me, that was natural. And we taught our kids, the same thing, respect for the weapons. But, obviously we kept them put away. We just leave them laying around, because I've got a lot of hell for that when I've done these videos and I tell the story, because in our family photo we're standing in the road, and it's like one of those cool pictures like that should go on like National Enquirer magazine or something, and we're all dressed like in our we're not dressed like Christmas, like we're dressed like in hunting clothes, like we have these hats like those Russian hats, you know, that come down like you're gonna with the ear flaps, and everything's white, and we take a picture. So it's my husband and me, and he's like 6'5", so I'm like this short person, and then it's my son and his girlfriend, then my son is next to me, and I put this on Facebook. Yeah, Merry Christmas, whatever. A couple days later, a friend contacts me and she goes, "Hey, have you seen your photo?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's a great photo." She goes, "No, have you seen your photo? There's some things in the trees. There's something above your head." I'm like, I always thought she was crazy. She's crazy, right? I'm like, "What?" I pull up the photo. I don't see anything. I'm like, she goes, "Blow it up." I blew it up. I saw nothing. I saw like a contrast in the photo. Okay, fine, whatever. So then, I'm like, I don't see anything, but she did. And she's one of my people that I work with today. And then other people, I would send it to some of my other colleagues that I work with today. They were all established already. They could see something. I was like, "How come I can't see anything?" And they said, "Because you're on the doorstep, but you haven't gone in the house yet." So I'm like, okay. So I battled with a lot of things because I'm hearing things I don't want to hear. I don't want to deal with. People are telling me their stories of, and then I was getting other reports, not just Bigfoot reports. And so then things were ramping up in my woods. The structures were changing, and I was just like, what is going on? A lot of like things I couldn't explain. The footprints disappearing. I was, just, and other things that happened I didn't go into. Why am I hearing people calling my name in the woods? Why am I hearing things and there's like right there, there's nothing there? So then I really wanted to know. So I have a intent that I want to know. So I'm reaching out now to the universe with what I want to know. I'm reaching out. I started having crazy dreams. And it was my people coming back to me to try to connect with me in that realm stage you're in when you're in the like when you wake up and you feel like you came out of a classroom, right?
In your theta sleep. Yeah, where your subconscious
right.
activates and you're finding out everything that you knew before. Sure.
So one day I was outside in my front yard and I was doing something, and I had this wolf dog, a Malamute, and she was going through this bush of, I forgot the plant is the moose like to eat it, but it was far off to the right. So I'm like looking at this plant, and I swear I saw something. And I looked like in predator mode. Right there in the tree was a Sasquatch sitting there. Have you seen that movie Predator where you see it but you don't see it and it's moving just like that? And I'm like, okay, stop the press. Wait. What did I see? I was like, okay, wait a minute. And I walked up to the tree and I looked at it. There's nothing there. So I stepped back and I get my phone and I put it there, and I was doing this and I could see it in my phone. And I think I did a video. I still have the video somewhere. But you can see something standing. I could see the back of a Sasquatch sitting in the tree, like sitting. I could see the top of it like this. And I went like this, and I could see like the side of it. Like, yeah, and it looked like it was munching on something, or I don't know, but I could clearly see like it was doing, or it was doing something. And I went, okay, this is crazy. Wow. Okay. I said, wow, are you there? I said something like really stupid. I'm like, okay. So I went to the house and I looked at the tequila. I'm pretty sure I was going to have a shot of tequila. I might have, I don't know. Well, and know what? I accepted it. And I thought, you saw that, you witnessed it for a reason. So then I took out that photo and I blew it up. Do you know what is above my head? A wolf man. I am not even into Dogman. There's a wolf. One moment. I gotta let my dog out. Go out if you want. Not you, because I can't watch you right now. Sorry, my dog had to go outside, my big dog.
Okay.
I saw this, you can see, and I'll send it to you. You can see the photo of like a werewolf head. I know it sounds crazy.
No.
I'm like, it scared me. It freaked me out. And I called my friend. Oh my God, I see it. She goes, okay, so now you're ready. And so I started doing this work with my friends who now I've gone to conferences. I've met other people, just this huge network. A lot of other things were happening. So now I am totally paranormal, metaphysical. Ron Moorhead. How can I forget Ron Moorhead? Look up Ron Moorhead, the Sierra Sounds. He wrote Morehead. He wrote 3 books, but 2 of them are on the Sasquatch. Oh God, what are they called? He is responsible for the famous Sierra Sounds. He wrote 2 books. Anyway, he has a website, ronmoorhead.com. You could just go there, and just amazing. Those 2 books will explain a lot of things. And then I started doing podcasts. I started talking about my journey and the things that were happening. And then the more along I went, the more things that happened. My younger son had crazy encounters. There's a female that comes around my property, and she's, and this came in early. So we moved there in 2004. I wasn't metaphysical until 2017, like full blown on, even though I knew everything that was happening to me. I was getting reports of my hairdresser calling me, and she goes, hey, you got to get down here because something happened to this lady. And then I think I talked to her later. Hey, y'all be quiet. Hey, quiet. So, for example, this one lady was coming down this road called, and I'll just tell people, the Spirit Lake Cutoff. You can look on a map in Blanchard, Idaho. And there's another road. I'm not going to give the name of the other road because I'm not sure. I think it was Peregrine and Spirit Lake Cutoff. So anybody can drive there if they want. You'll see this side of Peregrine, it's some trees, but not like deeply wooded. And then on this side, it's all wooded. Well, and we're talking like way out there. There's, no cities around. Spokane, Washington is an hour away because if you look on a map, the top part of Idaho, here's Spokane, Washington, and here's, the border of Idaho. So we're in like the border there of the Washington line. So this lady was driving wherever she was going, work or wherever, and it was morning time. She saw like a moose, like, oh, cool, a moose, and she passed by, and this moose, she said, went like this to her. Like she said, it eyeballed her because it gave her that creepy feeling. And she just like, and like, what the hell? And when she passed it up and she looked in her rearview mirror, and this is the freaking truth because I've got more reports. The moose went down like this and came up as a man, naked and dirty, and he just went like this into the woods. Shapeshifter, right. And I've got other shapeshifter stories. So that's just one example. And then I've had some weird dealings where I'm out in the woods. I have different research areas on the mountain, on state land, and then on my own property. So in 2006, before I was even into this metaphysical part of it, of accepting it. And then 2006, my husband's unit, it was 2005 or 2006. It was 2005, I think. And it was summertime. I always want to say wintertime, but it was summertime. Because my friend who called me, my husband didn't go to work that day. Me and him went shopping or something, I don't know, with our younger son. And then we came home. So that night, my friend called me, and she's like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, oh, fine. We just got home. I think we had gone to the base that was in Airway Heights outside of Spokane, Washington. And she's like, so like, how do you feel? I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you haven't heard? I'm like, in my stomach. And I said, no, what? She goes, well, they're going to overseas, or I'm like, and she said, Scott needs to talk to Ron because they had to do the phone tree. And so Scott had to call Ron because Ron is over the motor pool. And I was just like, I looked at my husband, he walked in the kitchen, and I went, Scott needs to talk to you. And I half slammed the cabinet. I said, it's official, you're going. And I handed him the phone. That's my way of not crying. I'm not a very touchy-feely person. You ask anyone, I don't like being, you know, I know that sounds crazy, but whatever. I don't like being comforted. I like to just go off on my own.
Do your thing. And work through it.
So I gave him the phone, and I walked outside to the barn, or this building that my husband had made out of logs on the property. Him and a friend made a shelter to put in stuff like the hay or whatever. We usually had a bale at a time because that was all we could afford, and that was all the only room we had to store it. So I went to go feed the horses and water them, and I noticed something. I think that night I saw like a trail of horse feed, and I was just like, whatever. All that was on my mind was the phone call. And so I looked in the house, and my husband is talking on the phone, and to him it's just another day at the office. So I went around the dark side, the back side of this building, and you know, the top of this building is so ugly because my husband built and his friend built this from pine logs from our property. Then they got this god awful army tarp, and they threw it on the top as a roof, and that was the roof, and they never finished it. So to this day, that thing has collapsed. Thank Lord have mercy. We do have a shop today, but at that time, that's what it was.
Sure.
And so I was in the back of this building, and I was leaning against it. And I remember just having a complete like meltdown starting to happen. And I started crying, and then I said, okay, now is not the time to cry, because, you know, it's just not the time. Get yourself together. You know, I did family support, so that was not the time, because I would always tell the ladies, have a good cry and be done with it. So no. Be quiet, Daisy. So then I'm standing there, and hey, zip it. And I collect myself, and I get up, and then I hear this cooing sound. Ooh, from the backwoods. I jump up, and I run back to where the light is, and my husband hangs up the phone, and I'm like, shut up, be quiet. So I go in, hey, quiet. I don't know what's out there, but be quiet. They always come around here when I'm doing shows or talking. Dadgummit, Daisy. Let's go outside. Don't knock on the door again. Go bother the... I don't know who's here sometimes. They like to come to the back barn back there, and then she goes ape shit crazy when they come to the back. But it's still as daylight, so I don't know unless I go outside. So who knows? Nobody's here. So I don't know. When she gets like this is if someone is here, or if the clan in the back has come. Sometimes they'll come, and I'm talking about them here in East Texas. So so my husband was on the phone, and then he hung up the phone, and I went inside. And right before I went inside, I heard a roar off the mountain. And then I was like, which was no big deal. By that time, it was normal. And then my friend, the female, I could hear her leaving in the back. She was crashing through the woods, and it got quiet. And I'm standing there going, and then I closed my sliding glass door in the kitchen, and I wanted to talk to my husband, but it was, you know, he's like, okay, well, I'm going to go in here and watch the news. I'm like, okay. And it wasn't the time to talk about it, because he has always told me I can go to war at any time. I can be deployed, and you're just going to have to deal with it, And again, my husband's, he's a hard man. He doesn't like a bunch of, like, this is what you signed up for. Like, get used to it.
Very fact driven. This is how it's going to be. Yeah. This is what it is. Let's just move on. Yeah.
He's not very emotionally, boohoo kind of person. He hasn't reached his feminine side. He doesn't know how to get in touch with his feminine side yet, which is actually a real thing with men.
Sure it is.
It really is. It really is. And I didn't know.
He couldn't do that and be in the military the way he was. You can't do that. You have to separate that.
Thank you. You just said it for me. So at the moment, that was the mindset. So then my neighbor calls me, who had been researching with me on the mountain a couple of times, and she was feeding her animals, and she heard the same roar off the mountain. I said, yeah, I heard that. And she goes, hey, can we do something? And I said, it's not a good time right now, Susan. So I hung up the phone, and I was looking at my husband, and I thought, well, it's not a good time to talk about. All we would do is just get in an argument about, okay, family readiness kicks in. And so that was that. And then the next day we woke up, it was a normal day. And then I remembered what I heard the night before. And we had heard this out researching in East Texas. So I've heard that cooing sound when there was other females around, okay? And there are different theories about that too. So that was year 2006. I know I've skipped a lot because I wanted to explain the paranormal things that were happening to me that I didn't want to deal with it. So once I saw the Sasquatch like that, okay, I accepted it. And once I saw this photo of this wolf, and I'll send it to you, maybe you can share it on here. I don't know.
Yeah, I can. That'd be great.
Okay, so you blow up this photo. There's this wolf above my head. Okay, what is this wolf above my head? There's other things in the trees, but at that time I couldn't see clearly like I can see clearly now. So I have no idea. I don't know what's going on. I just know I see this thing above my head, and it's looking at my husband like, it's like you can see part of its arm, like it's interdimensionally coming in, hiding. So now in step the Dogman, they can cloak too. They can interdimensionally. Okay, I wasn't even thinking about that, but what I've seen. And then the other tribal people that I worked with, which is the Spokane tribe, the Coeur d'Alene tribe, the Colville tribe, the Kalispel. I work with all kinds of people to this day. So now I'm seeing things. I've seen this, and then it ramps up the other crap, and I'm like, stop it. Like, okay, so I started working with healers on how to work through that and to not invite the uninvited. And let's just say I learned how to discern at different levels, and everybody can do this. You have to learn how to do this. And so going back to that question, when you go out into the woods, did I go out with the basic, it sounded to me like scientific questions of research and then dealing with the metaphysical, and was I prepared for it? I was eventually, but right. I have had a ton of hairy moments. I have learned how to stage my property. I have learned how to make my boundaries. I have learned that crystals and energy and frequencies are all and have always been a part of our lives. We are energy. We are frequencies. I started having dreams of my homeland way back in the day. So now I started doing podcasts talking about this. I was asked to speak at conferences. And, sometimes when I got into the metaphysical part of it, yeah, okay. It just depends, like, who else is speaking, what's the energy out there. Is this a balanced conference, which is, like some flesh and blood speakers, some metaphysical, and then you have the mixed audience out there. And then like the flesh and blood people, like, okay. But then people like me get up and speak, and it depends what I say. And like, the reaction from, like, there have been some rude people in the past, like, oh, okay, and you know, and I saw whatever out in the woods, and it just went poof in the night. You know, it just comes with the territory. You can't take it personally. You just don't waste your energy with people like that. Like, let it go. You know,
it's woo-woo. I mean, the people that don't believe in what we see and what we do, it's woo-woo. It's like pixie dust. It's woo-woo, you know?
yeah.
So we can dazzle them with woo-woo, or they can take it and shove it. Like, it's my belief. I know what I've seen as well. And these things, like, I deal with other entities. I've never seen a Sasquatch, to my knowledge. I've never seen a shapeshifter, to my knowledge. I'm open to it, but I've never seen it. But I see things like the Ints. My thing is like the tree people, the fairies, the things like that. I've had tree people come into my house. I've had these things. I've seen these things. I would put my life on it. I know what they are. Dealt with elementals last night in an investigation. They contact me all the time. I believe, like, I was created from an elemental. So my door is open. I see those things. They come to me. They don't scare me. They're there to protect. They were there to protect the earth way back before we were there.
So I'm still learning about a lot of that, you know, and like there's different beliefs involved with that, you know, but like I said, the things that are happening to me, I just kind of blended it all together, and then it was natural for me to start seeing things in the photos. Another thing that we believe in. Now you better shut up, dog, or so help me. So I started wanting to learn more. I don't know what is up with this dog. I wish the clan out there would freaking quit their crap, because they're getting her all worked up. I mean, if it's them, because this is what she does. I always watch my animals. Daisy is still being baptized onto the property. I mean, I really need to come back for a part 2.
And we can do that. We can schedule a part 2. Absolutely. Because I know you need to take care. And we've been on for 2 hours. So let's go.
And okay, so I would like to stop there where I just tapped into it, and then now I gotta go outside and deal with this. First I gotta see is who's here. It's not the neighbor's ghost, because she doesn't act like this. The other one, my other dog, is super like. So now she's wanting me to go outside. So yeah, we're gonna have to do that. So I don't know why they're doing this, because they know I'm doing. I mean, if that's them, I don't know. It's not like they just like show up. You know what I mean?
Well, sometimes they do, though. You know.
So I mean, yes, like so now it gets really, really crazy, and the things that I have learned, and I do want to tell you a quick story before we end, and I'm sorry to leave everybody hanging, because my place is at Jurassic Park, and I want to get into my son, but we'll save that for the next show. And sometimes when I do podcast, sometimes it has to be 2 or 3 shows, or just 2 shows, because I get really in depth with the beginning of like where I came from and all that. And I skipped over so much. So my younger son, like I said, and my older son are very, very different. My younger son has had some crazy encounters, and I will tell you one, and I will keep the other good stuff for like later. I wish you would stop, Daisy. I will be coming outside in a minute. Oh my gosh. I wish I could turn this around to show y'all. Watch her. This is what happens when they're around. Did you see her?
Yeah.
She's all.
Well, she knows there's something out there.
Okay.
The one's got a toy.
So
come on, you're not busy. Let's play anyway.
My younger son has had a couple of different encounters. And then on the next show, I want to get into some of the people that I work with. I just got a report yesterday or the other day of what's happening in this one area, because I want to go into the government, Idaho Fish and Game, and some of the people I know that have been hired by the government to actually go track these things down and kill them. So we will get it gets wild, it gets crazy. You're going to call me a liar. You're going to call me wow.
Cliffhanger next week.
Okay.
We're going to continue at 6 p.m. You guys, I've got viewers that are popping in and out. You need to finish watching this, and 6 p.m. Sunday, we're going to continue this, and we're going to finish the story. Maybe, but maybe not. But we want to know, like, if they're tracking these things down and they're going to kill them, like, what the hell? You can't do that. The bad things are going to happen.
They are. And we'll get into remote viewing. And I'm actually going to be trained here very soon to remote view. So, I mean, we're going to go down the rabbit hole.
So, I've done that just quick. Like, my followers know that I did that with a CE5 group with Rupert Guy with the aliens.
We're going to get into the CE5 event. Okay, so I'm going to write all this down. I will try to cram it into an hour or two or whatever you want. We're going to go way down the rabbit hole. And like, I feel like, and so now I work with shamans.
Damien.
And one of my partners.
Everybody's saying thank you. So let's even consider doing a remote. We can do that. Let's try. Let's get it going.
Okay, well, let's talk about that because I'm still not completely.
It's okay.
Are you talking like remote viewing? Can you remote view my property?
Sometimes I can, yes.
Okay.
Sometimes.
Okay, so we'll talk.
Get at it, but we'll talk. Yeah. I do more sky and area. I have trouble zooming in on specific locations, but I do general areas. Like, I'm really good at the general area just to get in deep. Like, I can take a picture of your property, just a snapshot of your picture, or snapshot of your property. And I can tell you by looking at it, like, okay, over in this corner, I think you have this, and in this area, you have that. That's how I see things. So it's more of a metaphysical thing than the complete remote viewing, and I tend to call things in. So when I'm working with elementals, which is kind of funny that you said is all this activity, because every place I go to paranormally investigate, the elementals come out. It's just what happens.
That's interesting.
I mean, they'll come. They just come.
They quit it.
I haven't figured out why. I mean, I'm assuming it's because that's probably part of my lineage or part of my life thing, but they've always come.
That's interesting. Okay, well, we will talk. And then, we're going to go way down the rabbit hole. We won't, we only touch the surface.
Let's do it. All
right. Well, thanks. It was fun.
It was amazing. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Cindy's got to leave. Stay tuned next week. Spiritual Speakeasy, where the bar is always open. Spirits are always served. All spirits are always served. Cindy will be back next week at 6 p.m. And I thank you guys. And I'm going to take us down, and good night.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.